Hello, I am Jack Voctor, and I'm here to get into an in-depth discussion of what I have planned right now for version 1.0 release of my model pack for the original Ghost Recon. So, pretty much this is to address a lot of complaints that I have with the models, and so some models do better than others. They have bits and pieces, but none of them have the full package that is looking for. So the gear itself is mostly old, so we're talking early 2000s and earlier. A lot of drop leg gear, and I think just used too much. Like, yes, you can find people using it, but I know it sucks to use, and so trying to make something that makes a little bit more sense. Unbloused pants, like a lot of the pictures you see of the cool guys, right? They're not blousing their pants. Lack of full headset comms. Most of what's out there is going to be like, if there is comms, it might be like a single ear headset, or it might be something like pretty old, like I've seen of some of like the CENTCOM's like VBSS guys. Armor setups, so wanted full ballistic helmet, body armor, because like pretty much the vision that I have of this is like short duration direct action missions. That is what the game really revolves around. And then there's not really good dual tube NVGs from what I've seen going through the different attachments, and so it's like, well, see if we can address that, because dual tube NVGs, like pretty much the standard, right? And so what I wanted was realistic direct action loadouts with more modern gear that can be used for all environments. And so that's going to be default/woodland from the base game, desert from Desert Siege, jungle from Island Thunder, and then because people have made plenty of winter content, let's get winter in there. And with these models, I wanted to have built-in customization for use by other modders. So at the end of the day, this is meant to be a resource pack that, hey, go nuts with it. So specific credits I want to give right now. Z Alex exported Ghost Recon 2 models and then did a lot of work in Blender, kind of setting it up, splitting out different gear, and that's ultimately what this is all built on. Without those, like, I'm not sure if I even would have attempted this. And so she did a lot of work of getting those models set up and then getting some of the base textures. That saved me a lot of work of texturing. For gear advising, my two main resources were Justin Red 87 and Ace of Blades. So they've like used gear in real life, they've done the real thing, and so they gave me some principles that I use, which we'll discuss later for how I set up the gear. And then Ace of Blades as well, does some 3D modeling, is far better at Blender than I am, and was able to teach me some stuff that this project got far more ambitious after he showed me some stuff. So, what's going to be included in version 1? So I've got, for male loadouts, we got 8 different loadouts, and then unfortunately the head models are actually different models, and so you can't just use the actor file to control that. So it's going to be 8 loadouts of 6 heads, and so that's going to be 48 models total. I do have a few female loadouts, which we'll discuss later, so it's going to be 3 loadouts and 4 heads, so that's going to be 12 models itself. I do have 2 NVG attachments. That's going to be the up position and down position for dual tube NVGs. And then a bunch of textures to allow for customization. So all you got to do is pick what model you want, go in the reskinner tool, bam, 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 select your options. All right. In terms of equipment standardization, and so part of this is like getting the base model and what things do I want standard, right? And so best gear, most modern gear I can find in the Ghost Recon 2 stuff is going to be the Paraclete RAV. So this is going to be kind of giving us like mid-2000s, so a little bit more modern than a lot of what Ghost Recon has. And so I also like put a groin protector in there, just looking at a lot of reference pictures of people using that vest. The helmet is a mid-cut helmet. Wanted something that a little cooler than maybe necessarily a full helmet, but not necessarily like the high cuts. So mid-cut, I think, is a good balance in terms of also looking at the models. I think it looks really good. On this helmet is going to be a counterweight on the back. They are wearing goggles, and that's partly due to some of the textures. Just gave me like some of the textures. The painted helmets had shadows for the goggles, like the actual strap, and so I ended up keeping the goggles, and it also makes sense for short duration direct action anyway. Did give him a war belt. So I think a lot of pictures I've seen with the RAV haven't necessarily used a war belt, but there's enough space on the model to do it, and I think it looks good, and it gave me some more flexibility for some of the loadouts. And then for the clothing, just simple jacket and pants. Keep it simple. Yeah. So some of the principles I use for laying out this gear, trying to keep the load balanced in terms of like left and right. Like you don't want the vest sagging on one side just because you overloaded it. Like, just what I've heard is if you do that, you're gonna really quickly change that. The radio, keeping in accessible location, so there is a lot of stuff that puts the radio on the back, which I know can work. People have done it for different reasons. But ultimately the idea is, hey, if the radio is somewhere that you cannot access by yourself, now you have to get someone else when you need to fiddle with like changing channels or something. And so just kind of in general, okay, let's keep it where the operator himself can just, hey, need to pull it out of the pouch, do the change, put it back in. So that's why it's going to be pretty much on the front, like pretty much more front. And then backpack use, so thinking about the context of the missions, they're short duration, direct action. Packs suck to wear body armor from what I've heard. And so the idea is that if they were carrying packs, maybe on the infill, they might have dropped them off or they're leaving them in vehicles. There are a few cases where I put on a backpack, and that is for specialized equipment / extra ammo. So there are reasons that it makes sense. Main inspiration, I would say, is going to be like mid-2000s, right? That's based on kind of the gear. It's like, that's where I looked. Task Force Black and like mid-2000s Delta Force were definitely the main inspirations in terms of the aesthetic. And that's part of what led to like the groin protector, trying to get more, the jacket like extending down. So yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the loadouts. We're going to start with the male loadouts. These are the ones I spent the most time on. And so let's get into it. So loadout 1 is going to be our assaulter, right? You can see he's got 8 rifle mags on the chest. You can see the radios there on the side. Pistol and pistol mags on the belt. Some flashbangs, nothing on the groin protector, and you can see you got the push to talk right on there. Some extra pouches to fill out on the sides, and then got an assaulter panel on the back. Right, pretty simple. So think of this as like your base rifleman. You can think about it. I specifically call him an assaulter just because, right, based on direct action missions, this is probably the role here. You can see that I did model the wires because that was fun. So there's your basic assaulter. For demolitions, and honestly, like with the generic look of the pouches, you could use these for other things, but I simply have these as demolitions. I built a breacher loadout as basically a demo light, and then an anti-tank as demo heavy. So let's start with the demo light, since that is the first one I built, and basically was the base for the demo heavy. Again, it's going to be rifle mags, right? I put a large pouch on the right there, and that's going to be for like any specific breaching equipment, maybe some charges, maybe shotgun ammo, if it's a breaching shotgun, or like demo charges, right? If you're just maybe running war, like as a demo guy. And so because of that large pouch on the right, it's going to obscure, it's going to make it hard to access that belt holster. And this, there are kind of two options here. It's going to be either go with drop leg, which didn't want to do, but it is a solution, or go with a holster on the vest. Like you look at a lot of the Task Force Black guys, they have that holster right there on the vest. So for the most part, did not want to keep a ton of equipment on the front, because going prone is important, but I do like the aesthetic of the vest holster. So you can see, for the most part, pretty similar to the assaulter. Again, part of the assault team, so running an assaulter back panel so that anyone behind him can get the equipment. Yeah, this is my personal favorite, just because I like the look of that large pouch on the right. So the demo heavy is pretty much the same. Just going to be trading the back panel for a backpack, and that's going to allow for carrying like anti-tank ammunition. So you see, I've got, for the demonstration here, a Carl Gustav. Well, where is he carrying that ammo? And so he's got to carry it somewhere, and so that's what the backpack is for. Otherwise, this is the same as the demo light. So next we've got our Grenadier. And so part of what led to the creation of the belt was looking at how was 40 Mike actually carried on a person. And so it's usually like some more like bandolier or some form of belt. And so here we've got kind of a mix here. We've got 8 rounds of 40 Mike on the belt, 4 on each side, and then using that groin protector to carry an additional 4 for 12. And now for the, so I had to move the pistol mag somewhere, and of course the holster wasn't going to fit on that belt anymore, so the holster's moved up to the chest. And then to balance having some pistol mags, some rifle mags immediately accessible, that's why the pistol mag are on the front right there. And then to carry extra rifle mags is on the right side there. And so the idea could be, hey, if like in a firefight, use those 4 mags on the front. If you have some downtime, you can take those ones on the right and move them over so that they're more accessible when you need them. Again, working with the assault team, so got an assaulter back panel. Next is going to be our Marksman, And so looking at how to differentiate the Marksman from like the Assaulter, and also consideration for carrying like 7.62 versus 5.56 is going to be pretty much took the Assaulter and put a backpack on. Marksman's probably going to be operating more independently and might have some more specialized equipment that the backpack can carry. In terms of those pouches, they can carry 2 5.56 mags each, or from what I've heard, they could put one 7.62 mag in them. So visually, you'd have 1 in the gun, 4 on the chest, so that'd be 5 total. And so to have some like visual consistency, if I wanted to give like more than 5 mags, the backpack could be carrying a few extra. So getting into our support gunners, I have a light version and a heavy version. And so we'll start with our light. And so think if this guy is using 5.56, right? So we got probably in this case 200 rounds in the gun in that box there, and then each pouch can carry another 200 rounds. So visually on this model, you've already got 600 rounds. The location of the pouches, didn't want to put them on the front because then going prone would absolutely suck. And so got some pistol mags and the radio up moved to the front. And so because this guy's probably working more with the assault team, but probably not going to need an assaulter back panel, I just put hydration on there. Doesn't make sense for this guy to have a backpack. Right, keep trying to keep this guy mobile despite how much ammo he's carrying. For the support heavy, think of this as carrying like even more ammunition or carrying like 7.62, because between the gun and the 2 large pouches might be around 300 rounds, and I want to make it to where, hey, you're carrying more than 300 rounds because it's probably what you'd carry, and so the backpack would be carrying extra belts. Otherwise, same, trying to keep the front slick, like, or at least not too thick. So there's your 2 gunner loadouts. And then the last one for the males is going to be the team lead. And so this is pretty much the assaulter loadout. Add an admin pouch on the top of the vest, and then an IR strobe on the top. From what I've seen for IR strobes, if everyone was using them, it would just blind whoever's using night vision, or like any pilots are trying to find them. Only need one guy in the element to wear it, so put that on the helmet. Yeah, otherwise this guy is running the same loadout as the assaulters. So getting into the female loadouts, I will say that the rig is not as good as the male. Those are the ones I was most concerned with. These are more, I had some models to work with, and I wanted to be able to like kind of make special, like the female specialist from the original game. And so we've got 3 loadouts and 4 different heads. So for Ghost Recon, the female specialist I was concerned about, so from the base game, you've got Lindy Cohen as a Grenadier, and you got Susan Gray as a Rifleman. In Ghost Recon 2, they have Jennifer Burke, another Rifleman, and then Alicia Diaz as a Marksman. So I figured if we could cover those 4, it'd be fine. And then there are other female specialists, but they're like foreign and not really using NATO gear, and I don't think it makes sense for them to be running these kind of loadouts, so left those ones alone. So let's get into it. So the first one here is the Grenadier. So it's going to be Lindy Cohen. Right, again, very similar. I actually took the base model and adjusted it. And one of the consequences is because it got slimmed down is I actually had less space on the vest and belt to actually put attachments. So if you look on the back, notice that I have like the big large back pouch, but I don't have those smaller ones on either side. Right, and then if you look at like the mag positioning, like it's a little bit more rotated to account for the smaller circumference. So again, pretty much the same as the Grenadier, just on a female. And then just to give them a little more visual identity from the males, I decided to run hydration instead of an assault panel, because these, for the females, I thought is they're probably not carrying the heavy equipment, so they're not going to be carrying like the anti-tank stuff. They're probably not carrying the support gunner. So I kind of given them like that more limited role where they could still run with them, but want a little visual identity. So this is going to be the Lindy Cohen head, which is pretty much the Burke head slightly modified and then different textures. Next is going to be our Marksman, so pretty much built in the same way as the Marksman before, but I didn't want to animate any of the holster on the belt. That was annoying the first time, so I just put them all in the vest to save myself some work and just a little bit more visual identity as well. So pretty much set up the same, a little bit different pouch setup, or at least less pouches on the vest. Alright, so now these 2 are both Riflemen, so I said 3 loadouts, 4 heads. And so the Rifleman is going to be basically your base. Mags on the front, pouches to fill up that spot on the belt, hydration there. This head is Jennifer Burke. Then this head over here is Susan Gray. So that's pretty much the Diaz head, slightly modified, and then different textures. And so that's what's going to come available, is going to be those 8 loadouts for male, 3 loadouts for female, 6 different heads for male, 4 different heads for female. So there's going to be different models. So that's what you're going to select from. I've also got NVG attachments. And so I've got each of these rows set up here. You can see here the dual tube NVGs in the down position. All right. You can see even the nice green on the inside there. All right. And then going to be the NVGs in the up position, which I think would, my recommendation would be to use this as your most common. And so some demo loadouts I have over here, just to show some of the customization. So let's talk about the customization. So you select your model, so that's going to be loadout and head combination. And then from there you can change the textures. So the heads do have some different variants. I do have some with open face balaclava, some without. For the males, I've got beards without beards, with the exception of the Parker head. That one, because of the base textures, I only have the one variant for that. And then the jacket can be changed in between different colors and camos. The pants can be changed as different colors and camos. The vest I left alone. Most of what I've seen of the Paraclete RAV is usually in this green color, so did not make that customizable. The gloves can be changed. And then the boots can be changed. The helmet can be changed. So I've got variants. Most of what you're seeing here is the painted helmets. And there's also ones that have fabric covers for like different colors and camouflage patterns. And then the goggle lens. So I tried a few things here, which you'll see. For the most part, I don't think it came out the best, but you can change the goggle lens if you want to. So let's take a look at some of these examples here, right? So probably the main 3 patterns I would use are going to be multicam, 3-color desert, and M81 woodland. So let's just take a look at what these look like here. Right, so you can see multicam here. I changed the gloves to some tan gloves. Those, instead of hiking boots, we got Oakley assault boots. Right, and clear lens. Alright, so now we got 3-color desert. So you can see my attempt at kind of like an orange, yellowish goggle lens. Don't think it came out the best. Some tan gloves, different tan gloves, and desert boots. M81 woodland. So I got some green gloves. I tried some red because I've seen that around. Some black. This is just jungle boots here. You can see plenty of dirt on them. Right, so I'd say those are the 3 main patterns that I would use from what I've seen. I've also got some UCP and UCP Delta as well. You can see some of the tan helmets as well here. Right, and then of course, as I said, Task Force Black being one of the main inspirations. Here's some of the combinations that I've seen in pictures. So we got DCU with multicam, DCU with UCP. Because I made a UCP version, I want to see what a UCP Delta version would look like. Desert Night, I've seen people with that jacket. It's like reversible between Tricolor Desert and this Desert Night pattern. I wanted to see what that Desert Night looked like. And then to kind of get some of that like UK SAS, got some DPM mixes here. And over here as well, we got dark lenses. So I'd say probably the 2 main lens colors you'd want to use are going to be the clear and the dark. But I said I've tried this orange, red, and then this blue over here. So it's kind of a winter demo. You can see this head is the same head model as the other ones in this demonstration, but it has a balaclava texture on it. So, known issues. So the rigging's annoying. And so I tried to get the arms and legs as good as I could with the male ones. I think I got them to good enough. And I called it there, and then went on and got the gear loadouts. There is some jank with the rigs elsewhere, but like honestly, I look at some of the other models in the base game that people have made. There's plenty of jank, and it makes me feel better. The female models are not as well rigged. As I said, like, they weren't as much of a priority for me, and so I got them to a good enough. Threw some gear on them, got the head models in. Stay there. With that said, what I am going to be including with this pack is going to be like some of my Blender files, Photoshop files, 3ds Max files. That way, like, you could go and look at how I rigged these, and if you think you can do it better, like, do it. Absolutely. Like, that, it's a resource pack. Like, and maybe you could, like, if you want to get more in depth with the modding, like, hopefully that'll help you teach you something. So, yeah. So this is what I'm looking at for version 1.0. Some future plans that I have. I am trying to get some better weapons. I want to try and see if we can get some Block 2 M4 like accessories, or some of the like cool M4s that are out there, like some of the old Delta ones that have like the grip of the light integrated, the MRE rail, with more options than what you're seeing here. So, yeah, more in-depth showcase here. Yeah, and so I'm pretty close to releasing this. Just gotta make sure I package it, make sure my documentation's good to go. And then, yeah. Hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with these, and have a great day.